Hello, I'm Rex Basterfield, and I'd like to welcome you to a video about my Quilcom divider organ. The octave divider sound has always had a fascination for me for nostalgic reasons, because the first organ I made was a very crude affair and it used divider stages. Now, any polyphonic synth with at least 4 octaves can make a passable attempt at simulating a transistor divider organ, with one exception, and the exception is that octaves will not be phase locked, and this also applies to sample-based instruments. The reason is, when you play a 2-note octave, the voices may start at slightly different times, so they won't be phase locked, and each time you play the octave, small timing differences can produce a different sound, a different timbre due to the waveform. To demonstrate this, I've created a very simple synthesizer which just produces pulse waves, and when I play octaves, listen to the difference in the timbre between successive playing of those octaves. Now, I accept that's a fairly subtle effect, but it is the main difference between using a polyphonic synthesizer and using a system based on divider chains. So, having got that bit of theory out of the way, I'll start talking about the plugin itself, which is pretty straightforward. The divider organ is kind of a cross between a Vox Continental and a Farfisa Compact, and has my own take on that amalgamation. There are 2 views. The main one is the main instrument controls, and you can change that to settings where you can set up some parameters for the whole plugin. I chose to use drawbars rather than the switches you're getting off on a Farfisa, because I think it's much more variable and you can set the kind of mixture that you want. The mixture drawbar uses the same 4 high notes as on a Vox Continental. These 2 drawbars operate in a similar way to the 2 tone drawbars on a Vox Continental. So this one is a heavily filtered waveform, which is sine wave-like, and this is a raw waveform, which you can mix these 2 together to get the sort of timbre you might like. Now, a big difference between the Vox Continental and the Farfisa Compact is the waveforms from the divider chain. On the Vox Continental, they are square waves, and the dividers are asymmetrical on the Farfisas, so they produce a pulse wave. I think you'll agree that makes a big difference to the timbre. Another big difference is that on the Vox Continental there are RC filters for each note on the divider chain, or for all the notes, whereas a Farfisa gives a more raw output. So I made a per note filter, which I've called the edge, and this is tailored to the frequency, the pitch of each note, and it's more noticeable on the raw signal than the smoothed signal, but it has an effect on both. And of course it's variable rather than switched. So what's this mysterious MTB? Well, it stands for multi-tone boost, and it's only found on the Farfisa organs. I had to examine the schematics and also listen to examples to try to get the MTB as right as I could. What it is it's a high-pass filter macro, so that as you change the setting, the frequency of the high-pass filter changes, as does the amplitude. Vibrato is an important aspect of these instruments, and you can operate this with the knob or with the mod wheel. Neither of these organs had a Celeste function, but I believe some organs made by the Allen Organ Company, which used dividers, had 2 or more, maybe, generator sets which you could detune. So I've provided that on the plugin, and it's called a Celeste, after the pipe organ sound. When you turn the Celeste on, the CPU does increase and the 2 knobs become available, and it doesn't sound anything like a pipe organ Celeste, but I think it's quite a nice sound. The swell pedal can be operated by any CC that you choose and enter into this box. I'm currently operating it with an actual pedal, or you can operate it with a mouse. And the drive is aiming at simulating a valve or tube overdrive. So now I'll talk a bit about the settings view. These knobs across the top are for tuning the individual note names for the top octave, which is then feeding down into the lower octave notes. This means that you could simulate a less than perfectly tuned divider organ should you want to. So I'll play C, E and G to demonstrate this. And there's no effect on D major. The pitch of the whole instrument can be adjusted with the semitone and fine tuning, and the Allen Organ Company produced a divider organ with a pitch bend feature, so you can set the range of pitch bend here like you would on a regular synthesizer. Vibrato speed is straightforward, and if you double click that you'll get 5.8 Hz, which is what I measured on a YouTube video for the Vox Continental. Now the bell is the balance, and I realised by looking at the schematics that the top octave generators would respond slightly differently to the incoming filtered square LFO waveform. So the bell controls the amount of deviation for the top octave oscillators. Now again, this is quite a subtle effect, but I think it sounds a little bit sweeter somehow when the balance is increased. Just listen to the higher frequency content. So now we come on to the artifacts section. The beehive is the sound you get when lots of the notes from the dividers, master oscillators break through into the audio path. And that can be gated. Hiss is hiss from the preamplifiers. That too can be gated. The contacts can be either smooth or clicky, and to hear this it's best to have a fairly pure tone. I provided two effects which are commonly heard with this type of organ, a spring reverb and an echo. I've provided a few presets to get you started as starting points. So I didn't provide lots of presets with lots of different values of the sliders, because I figure you can adjust that to suit what you need, but these may be useful starting points. So there you have it, my Quilcom divider organ. I hope you can find something creative to do with it, and there's lots of information in the background info folder and in the user guide. So until the next time, bye!